My name is Dennis Tubbergen. You're listening to the Legacy Radio Network. We are very pleased to be chatting today with candidate for U.S. Senate from the state of Michigan, Congressman Pete Hoekstra. And, Pete, I want to jump back in again and talk about one of the big issues, I think, in this campaign, and that is Obamacare. You voted against Obamacare. According to your website, Ms. Stabenow voted for it. My question for you is this. Can this law really be repealed, given that even Mitt Romney has stated he would keep parts of Obamacare?
Yes, it can be repealed, or major portions of it can be repealed as long as we get a Republican president, Mitt Romney as president, and we get 51 Republican senators in the U.S. Senate. We can repeal most, if not all, of the law through a process which is called reconciliation. It's inside baseball. But the bottom line is we can get rid of most, if not all of it. Then we can come back with targeted fixes to address the problems that do exist in our current health care system. But we don't need to throw out the entire program, the entire American health care system, and put it under government control. Targeted fixes, that's what we'll do with a Republican Senate and with Mitt Romney in the White House.
You know, I read a poll online, Pete, that the Marketing Resource Group ran. It shows Stabenow with about 46% and you with about 40% of the vote at this point, with 14% undecided. Does that fairly high level of undecided voter give you or your opponent the advantage, and do you put any stock in these polls?
Well, number one, we don't put a lot of stock in the polls. There's a lot of polls that are out there. The numbers vary all over the place. Undecideds typically break in the last couple of weeks. They will break for the challenger. People believe, pollsters will tell you that if a voter hasn't made up their mind on Debbie Stabenow at this point, after she's been their senator for 12 years and asking for 6 more years, that the majority of the undecideds will break for the challenger. So as long as they put together a good campaign, which is exactly what we're doing. So we're feeling pretty good about where we're at right now, recognizing we've got 6 weeks to get our job done, but believing we can get it done and we can win those undecided voters.
Pete, let me talk a little bit about a couple issues relating to the economy and entitlements. I've interviewed Leslie Page of Citizens Against Government Waste on the program a couple times. Your campaign website states that you've earned the taxpayer superhero rating from this group. You've served on the Budget Committee in the House. My question for you is, how would Senator Hoekstra address taxes, spending, and the budget deficit?
Well, very straightforward. The first thing that we need to do is we need to get economic growth back in America. The biggest beneficiary of economic growth are the treasuries of the federal government and state government. So we need economic growth to make any dent in the deficit. The second thing that we need to do is we need to embrace, to get the economy moving, we need to embrace energy independence. We need to develop the resources that have now been opened up to us by new technology for oil and gas. We can become energy independent. That keeps $500 billion in our economy each and every year that otherwise would go overseas. It provides us with a certainty of supply. It doesn't guarantee us pricing and cost, but it gives us a certainty of supply. It's a national security issue. It's also an economic security issue. I'm all for reforming the tax code, going to a fair tax or a flat tax to replace the sales tax system that we have in place today. The third thing that I would do is we need to rein in government spending. We do that in the long term by reforming Social Security and Medicare. In the short term, we do it by consolidating responsibility for programs either at the federal level or at the state level. My bias is we're consolidating a lot of these programs at the state level and getting rid of the duplication that we have today. What kind of duplication are we talking about? Environmental regulations. We're talking about transportation, gas tax dollars collected in Florida, Ohio, and Michigan. They should stay in the states where those taxes are actually collected, rather than having this massive bureaucracy in Washington that goes back and redistributes it and tells states where and how to spend the money. And the final thing is where we start with is making sure that K through 12 education is a responsibility of state and local government, parents, not the federal government. Get rid of No Child Left Behind. Get rid of Race to the Top that was implemented by this president. We don't need the federal government running our local schools. So those are some of the kinds of things that we can do to get this economy growing, reforming our tax code, restraining spending so that just like we did in the 1990s, working on the budget committee with John Kasich, pass a budget, implement it, follow those guidelines, and we can grow the economy and balance the budget.
Pete, I'd like to go back and revisit. You mentioned Social Security and Medicare. This rate of growth of these programs is recognized by virtually everyone as being unsustainable. Specifically, how do you address Social Security and Medicare, the growth of those programs? How do you, is this tax increases? Do you cut benefits? What specifically do you do?
Well, what you do is, just about everybody recognizes that these programs are not sustainable, except the people at ARP, the ones that booed Paul Ryan this week. Absolutely outrageous. So, number one, all the reforms that are being talked about don't affect any current users of either one of those systems. Matter of fact, they don't even affect anybody who's 55 or older. So this is all about future generations moving on to these programs. What Paul Ryan has proposed through in the broad terms and has been endorsed by at least one Democrat senator, Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, is all about taking this and enabling people who are going on to Medicare to stay in the private insurance market and getting a premium support from the federal government. So you move this program out of being administered by the federal government and you provide seniors with options to access health care insurance as they age. And different individuals have different needs, and they will buy and take advantage of different types of programs. It will bring market efficiencies into Medicare. With Social Security, allow for the creation with at least a portion of individuals' funds to be put into private accounts so that money is clearly designated for that individual when they get to Social Security retirement age. Also with private accounts, if someone dies before they ever get to Social Security age, the money that they put in their private account will be available to their family, to their heirs, and to their spouse and to their kids. These are just some of the, directionally where you can go with Social Security. You're also going to, on Social Security and Medicare, you're going to have to raise the retirement age and perhaps have some type of a differential between what low-income individuals and high-income individuals may receive on Social Security. But you can do those types of things. You can protect those programs and make sure that they're there for our kids and our grandkids.
You mentioned, Pete, a flat tax, and certainly Steve Forbes, back when he was running for president, advocated a flat tax. I have always thought a flat tax made a lot of sense. It would certainly simplify the tax code, would put a lot of IRS agents out of business, which may make a lot of our listeners happy. What, in reality, with all the vested special interests in having a complex tax code, including a lot of what we do here at our company, what are the chances that a flat tax can actually become reality?
Yeah, my preference would be going to a fair tax, which would be a national sales tax, as the single best way to collect taxes in America. But I'd be willing to vote for a flat tax. I think, at least in the short term, the only thing that you're going to be seeing is you're going to be seeing simplification of the tax code in the direction of a flat tax. But I don't think that we're going to have the opportunity to vote on a pure fair tax or a pure flat tax anytime soon, as much as I would like us to be moving into that direction in a very rapid way.
I'd like to, we've got a few minutes left here. I'd like to talk a bit about regulation. In the past year, we've seen news stories that inspection agents from the USDA have confiscated lunches from preschool children. We've seen people that bought organic milk, natural milk legally in California, have their homes raided by the food police. And those are just a couple examples of regulation that seems to be just out of control. To what extent, in your opinion, is regulation holding back our economic growth?
I think it's holding back economic growth. And, you also had the regulations that were being proposed by the Labor Department that would prohibit kids who live on farms from actually working on the farms and these kinds of things. But, those are the anecdotal examples that, get a lot of people emotionally energized. But the bottom line on this is that the regulatory environment coming out of the bureaucracies, whether it's the Labor Department, whether it's Health Human Services, whether it's, other agencies, the rules and regulations, the comprehensive rules and regulations coming out under Obamacare, they're absolutely stifling economic growth. They're sapping dollars out of the system that could be used to either pay workers, hire more workers, buy more equipment, modernize a business, and those types of things. They're being used for bureaucracy, paperwork, and red tape. I think it's a tremendous burden on the economy, especially that small to medium-sized business. They don't have the reams of lawyers or staff on board to just say, hey, here's one more regulation. Hey, you take care of it. For them, it's kind of like, man, here's another 30 pages of stuff that I don't have the time to take a look at. I don't have the time and energy to or money to pay a lawyer to tell me what it really means. I got to focus on growing my small little business and just surviving. I think it's having a huge impact on the economy.
Pete Hoekstra, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us. Good luck the rest of the way.
It's a lump and a bunch of hard work, and we'll be just fine. Thank you.
Take care. Everything Financial Radio will return after these words. Stay with us.